This video is going to be different from most of mine. This is not a review of the thing, the board game. It is mainly a series of considerations about the one time that I played this game and why I'm not interested in exploring the design more. That one time, while I did not understand the strategy deeply, enough things emerged that made me think that this game is not for me. So again, not a review. Mainly really a session report, I guess, with considerations at the end. This maybe will still be useful to some, but if you don't think it will be, well, then you don't have to keep watching and no hard feelings. Thank you for stopping by. I'm gonna start by giving you a very general overview of some of the main concepts of the game so that you can understand the gripes that I have with it, and then again I'll start with my session report, so to speak. So we have humans, yay, but one of us at the beginning of the game is the alien, as determined by drawing tokens from a bag. And the job for that alien is to infect everybody and or to leave the base together with the humans pretending to be human. The humans win if they find a way to leave the base, and there are three ways: rescue helicopter, the local helicopter, and the snowmobile. So not only do you activate one of these, but then also all the humans leave and all the aliens are left behind. If the alien sneaks in the rescue vehicle with the humans, again the aliens win. Or if the humans leave a human behind, they lose. So there are a bunch of different things, ways in which the game may end. An important concept is a suspicion track. All the players start with a suspicion token there on the green. Different actions will move the suspicion tokens down, and that will have big impacts. For example, if it passes a certain threshold, the players will need to play their cards face up. We'll see what that means, but just know that if somebody is a thing, it's harder for them to be sneaky when everybody knows the cards that they are playing. Also, there will be tests that players can find and perform, and you can only test people that are the most suspicious ones, have the most suspicion. You can't just test people randomly. If somebody is proven to be a human after they were tested, of course, then all suspicion is dispelled. Another important thing, when we open a way, say we call the rescue copter, and the rescue copter is there and we can leave, then the person with the least suspicion, that would be orange, can choose to leave. Can say, okay guys, everybody, we're gonna try to leave. And that pretty much will end the game one way or another. Because that player, well, we'll start the procedure in which they can invite the next person to join them, or they can skip them if they think they're an alien. And basically you continue like this until everybody had an opportunity to leave, or a certain number of people were left behind. And it can be just this person knows, oh crap, I'm the only human, so I'm gonna leave now, and I'll leave everybody behind. So the important concept again is this: if an alien sneaks on the copter or the snowmobile, they win the game. So if the person with the least suspicion is the alien when a means of escape is available, they say, okay, I'm getting on board and I win the game. That's at least is our understanding of the rules. This will be important later. As for the turn structure, it is pretty elaborate. You start by rolling a die for weather, which will create different costs and different damage to the base. And then you manage the base by removing fuel from different areas, like so, removing it, collecting it. There is damage that can be added, all sort of little tiny things. Then players will take their main turn. But actually, before we get there, another important concept. You're gonna have your card here that represents you, and you have your personal ability, and then you have two cards, thing and human. At the beginning of the game, when it's determined which one you are, you will place the one that you are sticking out like so. It shouldn't be on the board usually, of course, and the other one will face down underneath. Now, when players meet each other, outside of the leisure room. And so that's, say, when we meet in there, in the kitchen. Booyah. So when players are together outside the leisure room, there's a possibility somebody is with a thing and the person gets contaminated. How do we determine that? Each player has 3 tokens, 2 representing a human and 1 an old pair of underwear or a diaper. And the 2 players alone there, they need to take a control, I think it's called a control procedure. So if you're a human, you take the 2 tokens representing a human and you put them face down in front of the other person that you are with. And the other person, if they're a human, they do the same. If the other person is an alien, they will place the diaper and a human there. I mean, they don't have to, but most likely you want to assimilate people. So once we do that, then simply we pick, so say Oren just looking at this one, and so Oren says, okay, if they're human, they stay human. If they're an alien, nothing changes, of course. And look at me. Oh, well, good. I'm still a human. But if you look at this one, and you are a human, and you see this one from the other person, then now you are part of the alien team. So it's entirely possible to brush shoulders with an alien and not be contaminated. Matter of fact, there's 50% chances. It's possible that the alien, actually it will be entirely possible it happened, that the alien has no idea whether they contaminated the person or not. That's weird for reasons of theme, of course. So in the central part of the turn, first the players decide where to go. So I'll go here or I'll go there. You also have these cards representing 3 types of actions: use, repair, and sabotage. There you go. Each player we have a hand of 3. I mean, I'm showing you these 3. It can be any combination of 3. You may get 3 repair and 3 sabotage. You have a hand of 3 unless people are starving, and in which case you have a hand of 2. When you move to a location, you also choose a card from your hand and you give it to the leader. Unless the base is in the dark, in which case it's a random choice which card you give to the leader. So each player moves to a location, gives a card to the leader, and so when that happens, the leader will have a deck of cards that is formed face down in front of themselves. You shuffle them so you don't know which one is the correct one, and then the leader flips the first card face up and assigns it to somebody. In a sense, kind of reminds me of the Resistance with more steps. If you assign the repair action to a room where there is repairs that is needed because there's damage token, then the repair happens. But really, in most cases, the important thing is the use, which allows the player to use the special ability of the room. And if you have sabotage, then there is a negative effect that happens in each room. And that's the general idea there. So the heart of the game is this. Players decide where to go. If they are together outside a leisure room, they take this test here to determine what happens if somebody becomes a thing or not. Cards are given to the leader and then assigned to perform tasks. The leader can also stop to draw. They don't have to draw and assign every card. Variety of reasons. Maybe they suspect there's a sabotage. Maybe they are the thing and they don't want an efficient performance there. After that, players need to players can take the test, meaning if you can go to the lab and you can find a token in here that is a good test. For example, this is a bad, this is a good. You find a good test, you can spend it to test the most suspicious person on the track, and then they have to reveal their card. You can also test somebody with a flamethrower and wire. If you've seen the movie, you know how that works. Then players need to spend food, or they go hungry and their hand size shrinks. And then the dogs move around. Yes, because you may also have to take a test if you're alone with a dog, and in which case there is a bag for that, in which you draw and you see if the dog is a genuine dog or if the dog just turned you into a thing. So team switch can happen pretty much at any time. This is the general idea. Let me tell you what happened last night. So I set up the game in the afternoon, which is what I usually do before game night, especially a new game, so I can take my time and I learn what the components are. And setup was a pain in the neck. So many tiny little things to do, decks to create in different ways, and decks that we didn't use much anyways. So there's that element. And then I started reading the rule book, and I texted two friends like, hey guys, do you have time to also read the rule book? Because I don't know that I can teach this game. The rule book doesn't do a good job to me to teach you the game, and the real capital sin here is that there is no keyword index. Because it has a lot of tiny little procedures, and if you want to double check, wait, where does the lead? When do you pick up the leader token? Does the token go face up, face down? When is the token added or removed to that bag? Good luck. Good luck finding where things are. So we had 5 players, supposed to have 5 players. One friend shows up at the last minute. Awesome. But then we had to redo the setup because it's very specific with the number of players. So 6 players, 3 had read the rulebook, 1 had watched videos online. And the first half hour, 40 minutes, it was still struggling. We were all struggling to figure out what to do exactly. After that, so we say we start playing like 8:30, let's say at 8:30. And again, after that, for another half hour, the first half hour of play was pretty difficult. After that, everybody else but me understood the procedures and the strategies. I know I was doing the procedures correctly, but I clearly was not seeing the strategy behind. From the number of times I was like, I'll go to the armory to get some weapons. But they, no, what are you talking about? We have these other things to do, this other thing, there are other priorities. And I got the sense that they were human. And so I thought, okay, I just don't understand how to play it well, although I learned how to go through the moves. Oh yes, I was a human. However, I was also very suspicious because people thought, Michael cannot be so incompetent, he must be hiding something. No, I was really incompetent. And so I got super sus, and I was the first, yeah, let's go and get a test so I can show you. And so I was exonerated, and I became very non-suspicious, and people tried to keep me sterile for most of the game, and I also wanted to stay alone and not spend time with potential aliens. I would say the middle part of the game was pretty interesting. There were elements in which there was a discussion, the debate, the double guessing, okay, why is Bob saying that? Why is Aaron saying this thing? Peter keeps drawing faulty tests from the bag, or easy because you don't have to show them. So we thought maybe Peter is an alien, he's just messing up good tests, pretending that there aren't any in there. That part was good, although again, from the point of view of the cooperative gaming, I kept being not particularly effective, but I had fun participating with in the diplomacy. About 3 hours later, so it was like 11:30, finally one player reveals himself as an alien, which means pick up the rulebook again and go through a new set of procedures, because when there is an alien on the board and it looks and acts like a board, you have a separate set of rules. That was the first time that an item that I had acquired like 2.5 hours prior seemed to be interesting suddenly. So again, you pay for 3 hours, then you have to add another set of rules. And then it gets to me what the problem was. Again, up to that point, there were moments where I was having a good time, but I was thinking, if this is social deduction, I wish that the engine was leaner, was more elegant. I just feel there is so much going on around this idea of like figure out who the thing is. And ultimately, I had the sense that there was a lot of randomness happening. You can go to the item deck and not find the card that you need. You can go to the to the weapon deck and not find anything useful. You can draw from the test bag and keep drawing sucky tests or good tests, but you have no mitigation there. You may be turned into the thing because you are with the dog, and that's it. You may be giving sabotage cards because that's all you have in your hand, although you're a human. There is a lot of chaos here, and I felt, although it was interesting to discuss, that ultimately the game didn't give me enough information to make educated guesses. And to me, that is very important. If I'm playing a social deduction game, I want a game that gives me the possibility to guess. If it is 50% chance, that's blind guessing. Then I don't need to set up this complicated game to do blind guessing. 50% chance to me is almost like the denial of meaningful gameplay. Is I don't need to make any choice, and the choices don't matter if I'm stuck at 50%. And ultimately, again, I am in the room with Aaron, and I'm a human, and he's possibly still the thing, which happened to be the case. I wasn't there, brushed shoulders with him, and I didn't become infected. So there was so much chaos, and all these guesses ultimately were fun for a while. They started feeling hollow and pointless to me after a slightly longer while. Then this happened. So we played at 11:30, 3 hours of play. One player becomes an open alien, and we played for about 20 more minutes maybe, and then everybody was tired, so we didn't finish the game. We were like, okay, you know what, we think probably the aliens are gonna win, why don't we call it? No, we didn't have the strength, the stamina to go through all the steps and win and finishing the game. And so the game ended after like 3.5 hours. We called it, and the aliens won. Now here's another huge problem to me. This is like the deal breaker to me. The player that exposed himself as the alien at 11:30, I was in a room with him some 5 minutes prior, and he gives me two tokens, and I look at one. It's a human. I put it down. There were 50% chances at that point. Around 11:20, after 3 hours of play, there were 50% chance I could have won. Because if I turn an alien at that point, and 20, 30 minutes later we call it for the aliens, I just won. I was handed a victory, which had nothing to do with my decisions. Matter of fact, again, the original thing, the player was very happy, like, wow, it's a great game because I was strategizing, doing all of these things. And I thought, I'm glad you had a good time, and you deserve to win. But if I am handed the victory with you, and as I'm declaring openly, I struggle to understand the strategy. I think there is a problem in a game that gives me a victory that I don't deserve. I ended up losing. I'll tell you, I was happy in a sense. I just don't like the idea that I could be given a victory together with this very strong player when I did nothing to deserve it. To me, a game is interesting if the outcome, win or lose, is the result of my own choices, my own decisions. That's why, in a sense, losing was almost more satisfying, was okay, because I was playing supper and I lost. But the possibility that I could have won, there was a 50% chances of me winning after 3 hours of play. And that 50% chance had nothing to do with the decisions I made up to that point. To me, that makes the game irrelevant. I'll be just that blunt. All the decisions that I had made were less significant than drawing one or the other. No, that's it. Choose one in your head right now and imagine if you choose the alien, you're going to win a game after 3 hours. And if you choose the other, you're going to lose. This is how it works. This is how late the team switch can happen. Did you make a decision? There you go. Congratulations. If you chose this one, you just won a 3.5 hour game without having to sit through it. This one, too bad, you lost. That's what the game comes down to. Again, other people seem to like it, and they were like, well, but the theme is like this. And I guess then I don't like the theme of switching teams and therefore de-evaluating players' decisions. Incidentally, you can find an old review of mine of a game called Among Us, in which this already happened, and I remember distinctly complaining because I didn't like about that you could become an alien at the last couple of turns and win or lose regardless of what you've done. So, the board game, it feels fiddly and complicated to learn and with too many moving parts for the thing that the players who liked it confirmed what they liked was the social deduction. I'm glad they enjoyed it. It's not for me because I feel it has too many moving parts for what ultimately is a social deduction element. It doesn't give me enough information to actually deduce rather than I'm guessing. And the Tim switch, to me, kills any joy that I can possibly have because I just feel like, you know what, you guys play, I'll go to the house, I'll go and play video games, and you call me, 15 minutes before the end of the game, I'll pull a token and you let me know if I won or lose. Because yesterday would have made no difference if I wasn't here and they gave me that choice, or I spent 3 hours playing and you give me that choice. And this is why, alas, the board game is definitely not a game for me.